Brock, and I'm going to be doing the morning devotional with you guys today. And I want to start out with a question. Is there hope? It's kind of an open-ended question. There's certainly hope that things will get better, right? That the economy is going to get better, our government's going to get better, or maybe even a loved one's health would get better. There's hope that we might win in some way, win the lottery, win a football game, win at life, right? But we often find hope doesn't always seem to win out, right? Nations end, relationships come to an end, a tenure at your job, man, you lose your job. And oftentimes, no matter how hopeful, it's only a matter of time before something ends. And so in the scripture, is there hope? I hope we're going to discover that today. So in context, we're going to be in Luke chapter 3, verses 4 through 6. Jesus has been born in chapter 2. People have confirmed he's the Messiah. And now we're going to get into the beginning of John the Baptist ministry. And so Luke decides to give a quote from the Old Testament, and this is a reference to John. And in verse 4 it says, "As it is written in the book of the words of Isaiah the prophet, saying, the voice of one crying out in the wilderness," that's John the Baptist, "prepare the way for the Lord, make his paths straight. Every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill brought low. The crooked places shall be made straight, and the rough ways smooth. And all flesh shall see the salvation of God." Now this is a quote from Isaiah. And in context in Isaiah, it's actually a comfort for the Jews, namely that they are going to experience salvation from their captivity in Babylon. It's not going to last forever. For them, all of their flesh, all the people, will see salvation. And they can have hope in that salvation through God, right? And we see a similar theme with John the Baptist and Jesus Christ. We see that true spiritual salvation is what Jesus brought, right? His death on the cross gave us a greater salvation than even those of the Jews in Isaiah's day. Hope for us spiritually, right? In that sense. But what about for us here and now? We have the Jews way back in Isaiah's day. Then we have the Jews in Jesus' day with John the Baptist. But what about for us? Well, we know that once again, Jesus is going to come down to this earth for the final time. He's going to save us eternally. We're going to have new eternal bodies, and we're going to be physically with the Lord forever if we're believers in Jesus Christ. And of course, we know at that point, everybody's going to see that all flesh is going to see that God's salvation is real. It's true that he is the creator of the universe, that the hope that Christ offers through salvation is real, right? Not just the hope of captivity from Babylon, or even greater than the hope that is salvation. Spiritually, we're going to also physically be with God, right, through that salvation. And so that's a promise that I want to hold on to. That's a hope that I can grab a hold of. And what do I mean by that? Well, even when it seems that the mountains of life are too high to climb, Jesus is going to bring those low one day. When you feel you're in the valley and darkness is all around you, eventually Christ is going to fill that up, and he's going to be there. And when life seems to constantly be crooked and going in every direction, eventually, one day, right, when Jesus comes back, everything's going to be made straight. We're going to see salvation one day, right? Eternal salvation, physical presence with God. And Jesus is coming again, and that's a promise of hope that we can genuinely hold on to. There's a great quote from D.L. Moody that kind of expounds on this idea. He says, "We are all the time coming to the end of things here. The end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the year, the end of a school day. It is end all the time. But thank God, he's going to satisfy us with long life, no end to it, an endless life." That's by D.L. Moody. And I think that quote is super great, and it points out that there is hope in the scripture, and that's a hope that we can truly hold on to, a life without end, eternity with God, spiritually saved from sin. So that's really my heart for you guys. What I want you to hear out of this verse is there was hope for the Jews way back in Isaiah's day. There was hope for the Jews in Jesus' day, and there's hope for us in the future as well with eternal salvation with